Oh, I think we're live again. Welcome everybody to 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝘍 Live. This is your host, 𝙎𝙀𝙾𝙆𝙍, where we broadcast from the great state of Texas and we take no BS. Welcome everybody to the program. Make sure I got my sound. Got to do my sound check there, guys. Hope everybody is doing well on this fine day. We are in Texas. I'm going to be somewhere else tomorrow. I'm going to another great state. Actually, it's not a state. It's like a protectorate. It's not one of the 50s. Tomorrow, I'll be there for about a week, and I'll fill you guys in. Title of today's live stream is WTF are the stock markets doing? We have a poll up for everybody as we wait for people to join the live stream. And the poll question asks, stock markets will go up forever because, your opinion is because yield curve is inverting in the bond market, because wars simply don't matter, because the free money just can't end, or D, all of the above. Right now, 67% in the lead because free money just can't end. I would argue that all answers are applicable, but please don't let me influence your vote. Welcome, Rolf Potts is in the house. We have a very special guest. Yara, the Silver Babe, is in the house, joining us from Arcadia Economics. I texted her just a few minutes ago. She probably felt guilty for not answering my text, and that's why she's in the live stream. But thank you for coming, Yara. We appreciate it every time that you're here. Sarge is in the house. Fantana Renja is in the house. Eric S. is in the house. John Wilkinson is in the house. Yara says, are you going to PR? Yes, I'm going to PR. I'm going to have fun. Well, not fun. It's actually a business trip, but we'll have some fun while we're out there. Paul is here. Welcome, Paul, to the program. We'll let it all get loaded before we get into the presentation. I was trying to think of what I wanted to do today, which happens to be March 22nd, 2022, to date it, here on 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝘍 live stream on Gold, Silver, Pros. I'm trying to figure out what to talk about, and I'm just looking at the markets going WTF. What in the hell is going on with the markets? None of it makes any sense to me. Hey, John, how you doing? Nick 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝘍 is in the house. Yeah, what the hell's going on with the market? So that's the title of today's live stream. I'm just going to rail on the markets here for a little bit, and we'll take some questions and answers. Remember, super chats are open below. If you want to grab my attention, feel free to do that. Else, I'll do the best I can to read through the chat and take care of the questions as they come in, but no promises because I may not see it. Chuck Diesel's here. Everybody's here in the chat. All right, we got enough people loaded. Let's go ahead into the presentation. So stock markets are back up. Let's take a look at yield stock market, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Let me get the meeting controls down. We will share screen. This is yield US stock market here in the US. Yes, those are your stock markets recovering from basically wherever the hell they came from. So they went down, you know, over the last month. We've had a correction in the popular US stock markets. Right here, I've got the Dow Jones, I've got the S&P 500, and I've got NASDAQ, all down because of Russia, Ukraine, rising inflation, all the stuff that you would expect the markets to react to. But wait, we have a recovery since the 14th, the last 8 days. As you'll notice right here, we've had a nice little recovery in the stock market, to the tune of, in the double digits, I think, in one of the indices, if we go to the 5-day chart. But yeah, they're totally recovering. They're retracing their past losses for the last month. Because you know what? Wars don't matter. Okay, inflation doesn't matter. Okay, the Fed raising interest rates and cutting their purchases of treasuries doesn't matter. The stock markets are going to go up no matter what. No matter what in the hell happens, they're going to go up. I'm going to show you some data here about stuff going on in the world, give you a little bit of an update on Evergrande and the whole Chinese bond market situation. You see, the problems aren't just limited to the ye old United States. We've got them going on around the world, but the stock markets in the US don't seem to be reacting. We got China's stock market crashing. That makes sense. Problems around the world, problems with their debt market, it crashes. Not in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. We don't allow stock markets to correct here, not for more than a few days at a time, because Jesus, we don't want to shake investor confidence or shake confidence in the dollar. So we got to pump these things up ad nauseum without ever stopping. Let's go look at some of the data I have today. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that the yield curve is inverting? It's not the 2-year and the 10-year, which is sort of the bellwether when we're talking yield curve inversion. So what's a yield curve inversion? It is when short-term treasury debt is trading at an interest rate above longer-term treasury debt, typically signaling an oncoming recession. Now, the strongest correlation is between the US 10-year and 10-year. The 2-year is trading at 2.166% yield today. The 10-year at 2.381. So that's not inverted. And that is the bellwether mark, the one you really want to look for. But some of the others will invert first, signaling an oncoming inversion between the 10 and 2-year. So as you notice here, and I have highlighted for you in orange, that the 7-year, according to CNBC about 30 minutes ago, is trading at 2.426%, which doing basic math taught to you in 2nd grade would tell you that that's a higher rate than the 10-year. So the 7-year has inverted, meaning people see more risk in the next 7 years than they see in the next 10 years. That's counterintuitive because over time, we know less about what's going to happen in the world. You have to have higher rates to borrow money over time, which is what the Treasury is doing, what the United States is doing. But no, on both the 3-year and the 7-year, you're getting a higher rate because there's more short-term risk than long-term risk, according to the bond market. And I've often said that the bond market are some of the smartest investors out there because they look at everything. They're much smarter than your average stock market investor. That's for damn sure. Most of your average stock market people just chase the momentum, passive invest, freewheel it, don't do any research, put the money down into small caps, chase Wall Street bets into things like AMC, which is a zombie company. But hey, as long as the stock market's up, nobody bats an eye, right? Look at the 3-year, 2.384. It's 0.003 above the 10-year. So both the 3-year and 7-year are inverting, signaling that if this continues, that the 2-year is going to invert, and that'll be the biggest predictor of an oncoming recession. The best indicator that we've ever developed is simply watching the bond market. Why? Because the bond market is smarter than every freaking buddy else. Yes, sirree. But hey, don't let that dissuade the stock market. We just need to keep going. Don't worry about the fact that the bond investors are saying we have more short-term risk. You just go to your recovery and go back to all-time high stock market. Go to sleep, stock investors. Passively push your money into these garbage index funds, which are overpriced by thousands of times, especially in the tech sector. And don't worry about a correction. It'll never happen. We're in the land of never having a stock market correction ever again. I think the Fed has solved that problem. Even if they raise interest rates and pull back debt, we're not stopping. Stock market investors are going to push it up even more. They're going to push more money into it, even more, even though the Fed's taken away the punch bowl. So let's look at a little report from DataStream, Stocks, Haver Analytics, Fred, Goldman Sachs. This is printed in today's Zero Hedge. Exhibit 6, wide dispersion between asset price inflation and real economy inflation. If you ever wanted to know where all the money that the Fed printed since the 2008 financial crisis went to, this chart will basically tell you. It's going into that aforementioned stock market, NASDAQ, S&P 500, world growth, MSCI growth, European, all these stock market indices, a little bit into gold, okay, a little bit into US bonds. That's where the money's gone, okay, topics, all these things. These are asset prices, okay? Most of these are not real things with the exception of gold. Some of these invest in companies that make real things, but they're not real things in themselves. It's an ethereal or a made up number based on what somebody else thinks somebody else will pay you for a piece of a stock, or a bond, which is a debt instrument, meaning they got to pay it back in a rising rate environment. Okay, NASDAQ has benefited the most from the last 12 years of money printing. Look at real things. GDP, that's our gross domestic product. That's literally real things, or at least the, manufactured goods plus a service economy. Well, that hasn't gone up as much as the stock markets and the bond market. US housing prices haven't gone up as much. Inflation, the official measure of inflation, hasn't gone up as much. You see all this money's going over here. That's why you're not seeing your commodity prices rise until this year. And I said at the beginning of the year, commodity prices are going to rise, and they did, and it was going to affect CPI, and it has. But not as much as it has been in the stock market. So if you're in the stock market, you're oblivious. You don't know anything is wrong. So all they got to do is pump up these 3 stock markets, and most of the world will never know, especially US investors, who are basically at this point dumb because they don't do any research. 99% of you just passively invest. You're not going to know that the real economy is not doing as well. US wages aren't rising. European wages aren't rising. European CPI is not rising. Commodity prices haven't even begun to run. They're running in tin, copper, a little bit in gold and silver, some other things. But overall, and even with the recent increases in the price of energy, nowhere near the amount of money we printed. If you think we're not about to experience massive inflation to the tune of this, when all this garbage collapses, you have no idea what's coming. We haven't even begun to see what's going to happen with inflation in this country with the already printed dollars, and they can't stop it. They 100% cannot stop it. Let's go back to the poll. Stock markets will go up forever because 7% of you answered because the yield curve is inverting. Nobody said because wars don't matter. I think we all know that they do. 56% say because free money just can't end, and 37% say all the above. Of course, this is a tongue-in-cheek poll. All of these things would be detrimental to the stock market, but stock market investors don't care. It's passive investing. There's no more money managers, my friend 𝙂𝙍𝙊𝙎𝙊𝙎 says. There's not enough money managers to allocate capital appropriately, so it all goes into the stock market, and that's why it keeps going up no matter what news is coming out. Just invest your money in the tech companies. You're never going to lose. There's never going to be a reversion to the mean. There's never going to be a collapse. We'll never have another recession. Okay, the MMTers and the Fed, they figured it out. Just pump money forever, right? Don't pay attention to de-dollarization across the world. It's okay. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Spiked Head Die Crack is here. Straight August Play is here. Chris Ferraro is in the house. Neil Hahn is here. Kirtland is here. Crystal Clean. Yes, I am proper salty about the market. Crystal Clean, because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Our market signals are broken. They are broken. The whole point of this presentation. Let's go back. Let's make fun a little bit more, shall we? Oh, I don't know. What do we have next? That thing that everybody forgot about, the $61 trillion Chinese housing market, the biggest single asset class in the entire known world on this planet we call Earth, that rotates and spins around the sun once a year. Evergrande promises emergency debt restructuring proposal after lenders seize $2 billion in deposits. Offshore lenders have already gotten $2 billion out of Evergrande. So, all that stuff about Evergrande not paying back its offshore holders, well, guess what? They've already clawed back $2 billion. But Evergrande has stiffed foreign creditors to the tune of $20 billion. So only got 2 out of the 20 billion back. That's 1/10 of what they're due for this collapsing, massive component of the Chinese economy. Now, Evergrande doesn't represent all 61 trillion of the property market, but there were about 4 other countries in this mess that also defaulted along with Evergrande. That shows you that $61 trillion market in China, the largest single asset class in the entire world, bigger than any asset class in the US, bigger than the 30 trillion that's in the stock market or US bond market. That's 61 trillion because Chinese invest in their homes in the property market. That thing could come collapsing down and take the entire world market with it. Because think about how many foreign banks are invested in this collapsing market. Evergrande is just a microcosm, a symbol, a poster child, if you will, for the debt problems in China. And offshore lenders are only clawing back about 10% of their worth. Think about if you invested in a 401k or, I don't know, a house, and you turn around could only get 10% out of it. Would that bankrupt you as an individual? Would that hurt your pocketbook? What's it doing to these offshore lenders? And what's going to happen down the line when those lenders default on $18 billion of debt, and that affects their books, and all the other companies invested in those lenders and all the other loans those lenders have all start to go crashing down. This is the beginning of the debt collapse. Evergrande was, and I said it was. Actually, to be honest, it was a negative interest rates in the European debt market that was the collapse. Once we went negative interest rates, that signaled the collapse, because it meant you had to pay people to take your crappy debt. But this default in the largest single asset class in the world, 61 trillion in China, if that doesn't tell you we're headed for a massive worldwide debt collapse, I don't know what does. I don't know how China stops this. The Chinese government said they're not going to bail it out. I don't think there's any way in hell they're not going to try, in my opinion. I think they got to try. But, you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm just a guy on YouTube. Maybe I don't know anything. Maybe what is it now, 40 predictions I predicted over the last 12 years that have come true. Just ignore all that. Because the markets are going to go up no matter what. The stock markets will never go down, ladies and gentlemen. Just keep investing. You know, don't listen to any of the bad news. It's all good. We never have recessions. Nothing bad ever happens. No company ever crashes. No country currency ever collapses. Never happened in history. Well, don't worry. Just go back to sleep. Okay. Take the blue pill, go back into the matrix, just go right back to sleep. You know, put on that soothing music from your favorite YouTube channel. Sound of the waves crashing against the shore. Think calm thoughts. Don't worry. It's okay. Nothing bad can happen. Mama and Papa government has got you. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's all good. Go back to sleep. It's okay. But Nickel says in the chat, what's happening with de-dollarization? So Saudi Arabia just announced that they're going to trade oil in Chinese yuan, basically killing the petrodollar. Andy and I had a video on that earlier this week, actually last Thursday. It's now 30,000 plus views. One of our most popular videos, certainly the last 6 months. That's de-dollarization, oil for gold trade, the entire Belt and Road Initiative funded with Chinese yuan and not US dollars. I don't know. A lot of de-dollarization going on. Russia legalizing Bitcoin to deal with the sanctions against it. Russia being dumped out of the SWIFT system, which is the Western system, which supports the dollar. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on. I could go on forever. And we are in de-dollarization right now. Now the dollar hasn't collapsed. It's not going to collapse until it's all a con game or a confidence game. It'll collapse when people lose confidence. Most people don't even know of the problems unless you watch our channel or maybe a few others on YouTube. You don't know. We're one of the few people that tell you the truth. Oh my God, Michael is in the house. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. He is a channel moderator and a good friend of mine in the California area. Thank you for joining, Michael. Yeah, this is kind of a surprise. Usually we do this a little bit later, but I've got some plans tonight before I go out of town tomorrow. So I wanted to do this a bit early. Thank you, everybody, for joining early. We now have 181 people in. What the hell are the stock markets doing? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more. This came out from Bloomberg. Now, if this isn't completely tone deaf as to the current problems in the United States and around the world, I don't know what is. According to Bloomberg, inflation stings most if you earn less than 300K. Well, duh, but most people don't earn 300K. The vast majority of people earn 60 to 70,000 or less. So how about you idiots at Bloomberg put out a statistic that really matters? You see, this is where, you know, Bloomberg and the rest of the financial media is oblivious to you because they're dealing with the top 1% of income earners because they gave a 300K number. Okay, they're oblivious to you guys. Oblivious. They don't understand the average American. They do not understand the middle class. It says, take the bus. Don't buy in bulk. Try lentils instead of meat. This is a meme all over the internet right now about lentils. People have taken that one and run. Nobody said this would be fun. Well, yeah, nobody said the Fed printing our economy into oblivion would be fun, but that doesn't mean we accept it. We hold them accountable. Taking the bus is not an option for a lot of people. I live in Texas. Things are spread out. I could take 6 buses to get somewhere. It may take me 3 hours, and I'd probably get fired if it were my job. And it's not that buses don't exist. It's just not great routes. Not everywhere has a great subway system like London or other places in the world. For me, taking the bus, if I needed to get to a job, is a zero option. It won't work. I know. When I was a kid, I used to do it to a job. And it took me 2 buses just to get to a minimum wage job. I almost spent more money in bus fare than I did earned at my job. So I'm sorry, not a great option. Don't buy in bulk. Why not? Go to people have Costco and Sam's Club memberships to buy in bulk. Why? Because it's cheaper. Buying in bulk is the best thing to do. And the reason they're saying don't buy in bulk is because you're going to raise prices because we have supply chain shortages. Okay. That's why they're saying don't buy in bulk. It will exacerbate the supply chain. So I hope you guys had bought your extra food and toilet paper and whatever you needed beforehand. I've been warning about all year. Hopefully some of you guys listened. I hope. Lentils are great. On a keto diet, they don't work. There's a lot of starches in a lentil. It's not really good for the body long term. It is healthy calories if you're starving to death. But lentils have starches. They have calories. And no, I'm not going to eat those instead of meat. Vegetables, sure. Cheaper meat, sure. But that's not a solution for a lot of us who want to remain healthy. Wow. I mean, if that's not tone deaf, I don't know what. But not to be outdone by the World Economic Forum. Why the hell why don't we just eat grubs? Let's just eat insects. We don't need healthy meat. We don't need real food. Let's do vegetable-based meats. Let's go buy that garbage that costs 7 times what our meat used to cost in the frozen food section to get vegetable-based hamburgers, because we don't have meat and meat's gotten too expensive. Or hell, why don't we just go straight to insects? Apparently the World Economic Forum wants us to become aardvarks and dogs, I guess, or squirrels. I don't know what else eats insects. Birds. You know, we're not human anymore. We're not human to them, for sure, I guess. Do those recommendations work for you guys? You're gonna eat lentils instead of meat? You're gonna take the bus and then walk the rest of the way, especially in the north where it's freezing ass cold and you could actually die or get caught in a snowdrift and die, or in Texas where it's 110 degrees and you could have heat stroke. What about eating bugs and squirmy things that you get from the ground, you pick up from the ground, from the dirt? Is that what we should be doing, World Economic Forum and Bloomberg? See, this is what I think the financial media thinks of you, and I think it's what world leaders think of you. They want you to eat grubs because they don't care, because it doesn't affect them. Why doesn't it affect them? Because they're at the upper levels of income and they made all their money in the stock market bubble, and they're going to rotate out of the stock market and crash it, and you're going to be left holding the bag in your pension and your 401k if you haven't bought precious metals and farmland and bought food ahead of time and stuff like that. Why are the stock markets going up? Because they want to liquidate as much of your wealth as they can before this thing crashes. That's why the Fed printed all the money. Now the Fed's starting to pull back. They're starting to raise rates and quote unquote taper, which are not going to do it probably till the end of March, where they actually slow down their purchases and maybe even dump debt on the market. Although they've been saying this for 5 months and haven't done it yet. So I'll believe that when I see it. But if they actually do all those things, it'll crash markets. What happens to people's wealth? Your illusory wealth, your fake wealth, and your 401k is gone. And why will that affect you? I know, because a long time ago, I used to have these brokerage licenses. Don't anymore. Not your financial advisor. Consult your financial advisor. Don't listen to anything I say. That's my disclaimer. But I was a financial advisor. And you had to hold those things till 59 and a half. Well, if you're sitting here at 30 or 40 or 50 years old and you've got 10 or more years, and this inflation bomb hits and the currency bomb hits, goodbye your wealth. It's gone. Why? Because it's all paper garbage in the first place. It's all paper garbage Ponzi in the first place. If you haven't rotated into gold and silver, if you haven't rotated into farmland, if you haven't bought food, if you haven't secured long-term shelter, if you don't know where you're going to get your water and your medicines, you could be screwed, because they're going to ride this stock market up until they've got everybody fooled, and then they're going to let it crash. And they'll have rotated out. The big boys will have rotated out of that stock market. You see, because we're having a rise in the stock market, tells me they're not done liquidating yet. Once that stock market rose again after the Russia crisis and after inflation, drug it down over the last month, which is what should have happened, and they punched it back up. To me, that says they're not quite ready. We're not quite ready for the big crash. They're going to pump it up again. I think we got one more big melt up left. I think that's what's going to happen. Don't know the exact timing, but I think the markets are going to melt up really high. Guys, I've got later on, I'm going to introduce a segment where we talk about real estate. I was shocked at both rental prices and housing prices in North Texas. I don't even want to get into it on this one. Shocked me. Things have doubled in 2 years. That never happens in North Texas, ever. We've never been in that kind of real estate bubble, ever. Not in 1980. I've never seen it before. We're in a massive bubble, the mother of all bubbles ever to exist, where I live and probably where you live too. And 𝙁𝙁𝙊𝙁𝙁, sorry, can't say her name, says, here we go. This is a crack up, boom, and bust. You're correct, 𝙁𝙁𝙊𝙁𝙁 Redux. Something like that. Good comment. Don't see any super chats. Looking for comments. My condo has quadrupled since 2010. Good for you. 72 Brundle flight. Hopefully you sell it before it goes back down. Silver is the people money is why it's pressed so much. Thank you, Stray Dog at Play. Any other questions in there? I don't see. You guys are so educated that I think I've got you educated on all this stuff. You don't ask questions anymore. You guys are too damn smart. I think I must have the smartest audience in all of YouTube land and all of the social media verse. You guys are so smart. What the hell is going on with the stock market? Let's take a look at the poll. Stock markets will go up forever because this is my tongue-in-cheek poll. They're all wrong answers, but I wanted to see what you guys thought. 47% say because free money just can't end. 47% say all of the above. The remaining 6% between wars don't matter and yield curve is inverting. All signs point to a recession. All signs point to a crash. Don't know what is going to happen. When it does, it's going to be spectacular. I think one more melt up, the helicopters come out. That's the end of the physical dollar. We're going to the central bank digital version of the dollar, which the IMF and all the major central banks have already said in public, in the major financial news, they're going to implement. Started in China, now it's working its way around to Europe, UK, and the rest of the world. 93 votes in the poll. Neil Hahn says, you're that good, Rob. Thank you very much. Silver Johnson says, you're preaching to the choir, man. No questions. I guess I am preaching to the choir. Why in the hell do people believe in these stock markets? I understand the stock markets are going up. Let's put that back up on screen. Just for emphasis. Yet they want you to eat bugs, but don't look at that. Just look at your stock market. Don't worry about the yield curve inverting, predicting a recession. Just look at the fucking stock market. Don't look at the fact that real things aren't going up and this is all a big giant lie. Look at the stock market. Don't look at the fact that the biggest asset class in the world is about to crash. Just look at the stock market. Don't look at the fact that they're telling you you're screwed, you can't drive, you can't buy anything in bulk because we don't have it anymore. Try crappy food and just suck it up because that's the way it is. Just look at the stock market. Don't worry about the fact we're going to feed you bugs and fake meat. Just look at the stock market. Okay? All you brain dead zombies out there, look at the fucking stock market. That's all you need to know. The rest of it, don't worry about it. Okay? Your leaders got it under control. Mama and Papa got it. Mama and Papa government are here to save you. The government is here to save you. Don't you understand? Don't you get it? They're here to save you. They're going to lie to your ass until we figure out that's not true. And the majority of people don't watch this show or some of my friends' shows. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. What are the stock markets doing? They're there to fool you. They're there to fool the average wage slave that works a job, that has a 401k and a pension. Don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Nothing bad will ever happen. They're lying to your face. The politicians are lying. The mainstream media are probably half stupid, but I think they're lying too. The bond markets are telling you what's going on. The Fed's telling you what it's going to do. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody is paying attention. It's all good, guys. Don't worry. And what the hell is happening to gold prices? Right now, gold's at 1921.69, silver's at 24.78. They're both down on the day. Gold down 13.91, silver down 46 cents. Why? It's the futures market. They're not going to let it rise right now. Because why? Because gold tells the truth. The one thing that people pay attention to is not the bond market, not the Fed, not your average person. They pay attention to stocks. And when gold goes up, they know something's wrong. That's why gold's not going up. It's being sold in the market on heavy volume. But they're going to pump that stock market. And it's okay, guys. Don't worry. Janet Russell says MSM is fake news. That is 100% correct. You know what the mainstream media is? It used to be a bunch of reporters that would go out there and tell you the truth. They tell you the truth about what's going on in the world. Now it's fed by centralized news agencies who distribute the news and distribute video and the copy and literally everything to all of these news agencies who just repeat it, and they pay talking heads. And it's how good the talking head looks. Do they have the big boobs? You know, do they have less wrinkles? Have they had plastic surgery? That's who's reading you news from the centralized news agency like the AP and others, who feed all the video, who send all the reporters out and tell the world what's going on. 85% of major news media is owned by the 6 same conglomerates run by the same boards of directors. That's a fact. And that's why the general public doesn't know, because they watch that garbage. 100% Canadian says they don't need us to have robots now, way cheaper. Now that's interesting. I have an Amazon distribution center. Let me say that word correctly. Just literally down the street from me. I can get to it in 4 minutes in my truck. 90% of the labor in that distribution facility is robots. They do need people for some things, but most of these little robots are run around, grab your stuff, stick them in a box. Have you ever wondered when you get a box from Amazon, it's delivered and it's sitting in the box and there's one little piece of like packaging sitting on top, but the thing in the box has been, jiggling around in the box the whole time. You're like, this doesn't protect my item, in shipping. It's because they have robots do it all. There's not humans packing that crap, most of it. They just throw it in the box, throw a little piece on it. The robot doesn't know. Puts the tape across it, shoves it down the conveyor line. The person where the people get involved is they pull it off the conveyor line, put it in the truck. And eventually you won't need people for that either. You're gonna have robots do that too. And maybe you eventually have driving trucks because you have 5G coming out. You're gonna have fully electric vehicles that will drive themselves. What about all the post office workers? What about all the people that load the trucks? What about people that drive the trucks? What about all the people that do the warehousing jobs? A friend of mine did warehousing for years and years and years, his whole career in it. Lost his job about 3 years ago, could not find another one. I kid you not, could not find another. He could drive forklifts, he could load, he could unload, years of experience doing it, great references, could not find a job. It's been taken over by robots. Good comment. Oh, Michael says, yeah, Michael and Yara were here to visit me a few months ago, and we went to 𝙎𝙀𝙇𝙑𝙀𝙍, which is right across the street from Amazon. Michael's talking about in the chat. 𝙎𝙀𝙇𝙑𝙍, best stuff. You come to Texas, especially North Texas, 𝙎𝙀𝙇𝙑𝙑, gigantic grills, the size of an elephant, grilling everything that you want. Great place to go. If any of you come to Dallas, email me. I'll take you out to 𝙎𝙀𝙇. It's awesome. Miles Nelson says, we'll be too happy eating bugs to work. That's right. You'll be eating bugs and you're so happy you won't work. In fact, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be universal basic income. You're not going to have to work. Because why? Because it can push the stock market up. You have fake wealth. Don't worry about the fact that everything rises in price. It's all good. It's okay. It's all good. Chuck Diesel says, yep, that's where we're headed, Rob. Everything automated. I'm telling you, that's the way we're going. Friends are losing their jobs and they're not coming back. That's why I get out of the workforce. I just made a decision, sucked it up, and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I have a master's degree in information security, which is cybersecurity, and first in my class, graduated 3.95 GPA. And I could get a job right now if I wanted to, and if I absolutely had to. Do I want to? Hell to the no. Now, if I need to work again, a traditional job, I will. I'm not against working. I've worked my butt off my whole life, a lot of 15-hour days over 25 years. But I'd rather work for myself. Anyway. Rob, thoughts on the nickel situation, Michael? So yeah, it went up. A lot of it had to do with the LME. What happened was one of the big Chinese guys who was associated with JP Morgan, one of the bullion banks, was over-levered short on nickel. Nickel price went up. They halted trading to keep that Chinese person from going insolvent. JP Morgan then appealed to the LME exchange to bail out the Chinese member so that they wouldn't go insolvent. Why? Because JP Morgan probably told them to short it. Why would you short nickel? Well, I don't know. Maybe you need to keep the price down. Maybe because you need it for stuff. Or maybe they're just making money on the paper trade. You know how the derivative markets are. So they got busted. The LME, I think at this point, is not a legitimate market. Why does that matter? I'm going to tell you in a second. A lot of people do not know this. The LME is owned not by London or anybody in the UK. It's owned by China. China just made a major London market look like a laughing stock. Why would China want to make a major London market look like a laughing stock? I don't know. So they can go over to the Shanghai exchange, which is the Chinese market. So the China can now control commodity prices, much like the West has done for these 50 years. The LME was owned and run by China. And they let that nickel situation reach DEFCON 1, meltdown in the nuclear reactor, embarrassed LME, which happens to be trading out of London, but nobody knows the LME is not run by a UK company or the UK government. It's Chinese. And who's going to benefit from that meltdown? I don't know. Perhaps the Shanghai market, perhaps markets in the Middle East, perhaps China's friends. Yippers. Chuck Diesel says, I love barbecue. I might take you up on that, Rob. Man, just look me up. Hit me up at Robert@GoldSilverPros. I'm telling you, I'll go hang out with you guys. I've been thinking about doing another event. In August at our Money Metal Summit, we did an event. We had about 30 people fly in. We only give about a week and a half notice. We had people pay $30 to help cover dinner to fly in for that conference. I may do another event here in North Texas, especially you guys want barbecue. Let's let it warm up just a bit where I'm not traveling, probably in April sometime or June. And maybe we'll do an event, and if 10 or 15 of you want to come on over, we'll have dinner with you guys. We'll go to 𝙎𝙄𝙇. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I'd like to meet a lot of you guys. It's been a while since I met you. Now, good news is, oh, and this is something I need to talk about. And a habit, but I'm going to be speaking at conferences. So why don't we talk about the conferences if I can get to it? I'm going to be speaking at a couple. I'm going to be speaking at 𝙎𝙬𝙀𝙍 conference in May, and also strategic investment. And I'm not finding the link. Sorry, guys. I will find the link for you and I will put it down in the chat. But I'll be speaking at these conferences. We'll put them in the videos from here. If you want to come see me up in Chicago at Strategic Investment, or if you want to see me at Vancouver Resource Investment in Vancouver, we'll put the links in the following videos for you guys. You can come see me speak. It'll be a lot of fun. Jenna Russell says, heard the crash will be worse than the 1929 crash. Get ready. I agree 100% with you. It will be. Yara says, oh, by August, maybe I'll be back, meaning back in the States. Yeah, we'll do our August thing. In August, I'm going to go speak at Silver Symposium up in, this time in Spokane, Washington. It was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho last year. To be right next door in Spokane, Washington, right near the airport, easier to get to. That'll be in August if you guys want to come see me speak there. Stray Dog has a question in the chat, but I think it's for Arcadia, so I will let Yara take it. All right, we're going to end the poll. 47%. People say stock markets will go up forever because free money just can't end. And the other 47% say all the above. Good answer to the poll. We have about 270 people in the chat. Glad everybody can make it today. We're talking about what the hell the stock market's doing. We have yield curve inversions, but the stock market's up. We have financial asset prices crashing up and real economy prices crashing down, but the stock market's still up. We have Evergrande defaulting and only giving 10% of value to their overseas investors, but the stock market's going up. We have Bloomberg telling us to take the bus, don't buy meat, don't buy in bulk, but the stock market's going up. We have World Economic Forum telling us to eat bugs, but the stock market's going up. Don't worry, mama and papa government's got you. This was just a rant, ladies and gentlemen, for me to answer your questions. That's all it was on this Tuesday. I didn't really have anything specific to talk about other than it's gone past the point of silliness at this point. I don't even know what to say. That's why I'm being very tongue-in-cheek. It's crazy. And I feel bad for the 95% of people that are never going to understand the stock market is not real wealth. And that the stock market doesn't mean the economy is doing good. I can only say it so many times. But it's the truth. And those of you invest in the stock market, it may be time to get out. You may be near the top. I do think there's going to be another melt up. Don't take that as financial advice, by the way. I'm not a financial advisor, consult your own. But I think it'll melt up one more time. So you have one more chance to sell before that crashes down. You lose your money. So you may want to consider that. Mario Gomez Cavalcanti says, which stocks are you still holding? Only in the gold and silver space. I'm considering some uranium ones. I don't have a lot in any stocks as a percentage of my portfolio, but the only ones I'll invest in are value stocks and undervalued. And the best sector right now is in gold, silver, and uranium. There are others, some base metals, stuff like that, commodities based. I'd stay out of the tech sector if you know it were me. If it were me, I would stay out of staples. Lots of stuff, but that's where I'm invested. But most of my money's not in any stock market. I'm selective in the stock market at the moment. Silver Johnson says cyber attacks next. I would say I agree, but they've been going on for 25 years. Cyber attacks have been going on for 25 years. I do think they're going to escalate. So I think there's finally awareness about the cyber situation around the world, which I've been preaching about for about 13 years. And finally, people are starting to listen. And good to see that people are listening and becoming more attuned to that. All right, guys, last thing, and you'll see this on all of our videos. We have precious metal deals on our website. Our two main vendors are ARC Silver, my good friend Ian Everard, and Miles Franklin. If you go to our website, goldsilverpros.com, and click on the precious metals deals link, you can click on either vendor, get access to deals, and fill out a quick form, and they will get back to you within 48 hours. Or you can just reach out to those guys directly and tell them that you heard us on Gold Silver Pros, and you'll get the best deals anywhere. 𝙎𝙬𝙊𝙎 says, I like the weather in San Diego. I was just in San Diego. I love it too. Was on the beach for 2 days and it was awesome. It was a business meeting, but it was fun. All right, guys, I think that may do it. It's about 40 minutes. We've had a good one today, a good rant on what the stock market's doing, given all the other risk in the world. Don't lose sight of your goals. Don't lose sight of what we have taught you on this channel. The stock markets don't tell the truth. They are for people who are going to lose everything, just like they did in the 1929 crash and in Black Monday and all those other ones, the tech crash. Don't stick around the stock market too long. Get out when the getting out's good and go to value. And you know what value is because I talk about it every day. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for Michael for riding shotgun and doing the moderating. Thank you for special guest 𝙎𝙬𝙊𝙎 for joining us from Ardea Economics. And I will talk to you next time. Thursday, we have some more content coming up. And we've got content planned the next couple of weeks, already planned and in the books. And next week, stay tuned. I'm going to have a very special announcement. I've been hinting at this for a while. We're not just Gold Silver Pros anymore. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. A lot of you don't know that I started in real estate and then I did a bunch of stocks stuff and traded Forex. And we're going to bring to you a much bigger financial channel than what you see now. So if you like Gold Silver Pros, stay tuned to what's coming. Now, I've been talking about corrections, real estate, and stocks. So we're going to tell you how to navigate that on those channels. I'm not going to navigate getting into tech right now. We're going to talk about ways to use real estate and stocks in your portfolio and other things as well. And when the Great Reset happens, you're going to rotate out of gold and silver and other things. So we're going to teach you that as we go along. That's the purpose of the new channel. Stay tuned. It's coming. We'll announce it next week. The big launch. Stay tuned to the channel. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This will end it. This is your Tuesday Cowboy Metals live stream from Rob Keene's Gold Silver Pros, where we broadcast from the great state of Texas, and we take no bullshit. You guys have a good evening. Take no bullshit, learn the truth, and protect yourselves and your families. Till next time.